Han Jingchuan pushed the 3 million guarantee contract in front of me just as I woke up from my hospital bed in the previous life. In my previous life, I signed that contract, sold my premarital apartment, and used the savings my mother left me to help him start his business. But when he rang the bell for his company's listing, he was holding Xu Ruoqing's hand, saying I was just someone who had endured hardship with him, in this life, right in front of the bank manager, my mother-in-law, and his female assistant. I put the pen back on the table and said, "I'm not investing this money." The air in the bank's VIP room suddenly fell silent. Han Jingchuan frowned at me. "Zai, what's wrong with you now? Didn't we agree this loan is just a bridge? Once the first round of funding comes through in 3 months, we'll pay you back." My mother-in-law, He Shoulan, immediately chimed in. "Exactly, your husband and wife, Jingchuan, starting his business is a big deal for your family. Your house is just sitting empty anyway. What's the big deal about putting it up as collateral?" I looked down at the contract. It felt so familiar that my fingertips turned cold. Collateral, the small apartment I owned before marriage. Guarantor, Lin Zai. Purpose of the loan, business operation needs of Han Jingchuan startup. Yuntu technology, repayment liability, joint and several. In my previous life, this was where I signed my name. Minute, the bank's relationship manager, reminded me, MS Lin, joint and several liability. Guarantees carry very high risk. Please make sure you fully understand before signing. At that moment, I glanced at Han Jingchuan. His eyes were full of anxiety and anticipation. He said, "Zai, I have only you now." My heart softened. "I'll sign. I'll sell the house. I'll take out the 800,000 my mother left me. I'll quit my job to help him manage clients, handle accounts, and run operations." Yuntu technology later became a unicorn in the industry, but my name never appeared on the cap table. Han Jingchuan said, "You're my wife, what's mine is yours." At the IPO celebration banquet, he introduced Xu Ruoqing in front of all the media. "She is the most important partner at Yuntu and the person who understands my entrepreneurial dream best. As for me, with my post-operative stomach issues flaring up, I sat in a corner without anyone even handing me a cup of hot water." Later, he gave me the divorce papers. He said, "Zai, you've been too much like a housekeeper all these years. Ruoqing is different. She understands the future." Before I died of illness, I saw a news headline. It was about the wedding of Han Jingchuan and Xu Ruoqing, with the title, "From Business Partners to Life Partners." How ridiculous. I provided the startup capital. I endured the hardships. Yet she became my life partner. I looked up and saw Xu Ruoqing standing behind Han Jingchuan. She was wearing a white suit skirt, holding a folder in her hands with a gentle smile on her face. "Sister Zai, are you worried about the risks?" Actually, Brother Jingchuan has already laid out the financing plan very clearly. This window of opportunity is critical. If we miss it, the project will be snatched up by our competitors. In the previous life, she had said the same thing, gentle, understanding, and always on the side of the career. I'm like that wife who only holds everyone back. I closed the contract, then you provide the guarantee. The smile on Xu Ruoqing's face froze for a moment. Me, I looked at her. "You trust him so much and know the project so well, you be the guarantor." Han Jingchuan's face darkened. "Lin Zai, Ruoqing is just an employee. Isn't she a core partner?" I pulled out another draft of the equity agreement from the edge of the desk. This draft was tucked under the financing documents. I didn't see it in my previous life. Now I see it. Founder Han Jingchuan holding 51% of the shares. Co-founder Xu Ruoqing holding 19% of the shares. Technology team option pool 15%. External investment reserve 15%. Lin Zai gets nothing. I pushed the draft in front of Han Jingchuan. "I'll pay for it. I'll mortgage the house. I'll bear the risk and give her the equity." Han Jingchuan's face changed. "This is just a draft. You don't understand corporate structure." I smiled. "Is it that I don't understand or that you don't want me to understand?" My mother-in-law slammed the table. "Lin Zai, why are you so petty? Ruoqing is someone helping Jingchuan build his career. As his wife, are you really going to fight an employee over shares?" I looked at her. "Then let the employees pay for it." He Shoulan was left speechless. Minute sat across from me saying nothing, but the look in her eyes had clearly changed. She probably hadn't expected that. Unlike in my previous life, this time I wouldn't be coaxed into signing just by a few words about our marital bond. Han Jingchuan suppressed his anger. "Zai, this is no time for antics. The company only has 3 days of cash flow left. If you don't sign, the project will die." "Then let It die. He snapped his head toward me. I said word by word, it's not my project, so I'm not responsible for saving it. Shu Ruoqing's eyes instantly turned red. Sister Zai, have you misunderstood me? I don't want to take your position, I just want to help brother Jingchuan. I nodded. That's good, you help. I stood up and pulled my own ID card and a copy of the property deed out of the folder. My mother-in-law rushed over to snatch them. What are you taking them for? This house will belong to the Han family sooner or later. I took a step back. This house was the premarital property my mom left me. Han Jingchuan's voice turned cold. Lin Zai, if you walk out that door today, don't regret it. Even without your money, I can still succeed. I looked at him. In his previous life, he had said something similar. Later he succeeded, but that success was built by stepping on my bones. In this life, I want to see how far he can go without my money, my house, or my plans. I took off my wedding ring and placed it on the contract. Then I wish you success in advance. With that, I turned and walked away. The moment the VIP room door closed, I heard my mother-in-law shrilly curse me as an ungrateful wretch. I did not look back. When I reached the bank lobby, Ju Minute chased after me. She lowered her voice and said, "Ms. Lin, it was right for you not to sign today." I looked at her. In my previous life she had also warned me. I just didn't listen. I nodded slightly. "Thank you." She handed me a receipt. "You just requested to retrieve the premarital property certificate and account statements. I've helped you fill out the application form first. If property division becomes involved later, these will be useful." I took it. Fingers slowly tighten. In this life, I finally love not without preparation. When I got home, my mother-in-law was already waiting for me in the living room. She had gotten there even faster than I did. I probably took a taxi straight back. After leaving the bank, on the coffee table lay a passbook left by my mother. That was something I had kept in the locked drawer of the bedroom safe. He Sholan actually managed to find it. She saw me enter and immediately slapped the bankbook on the table. "Lin Zai, you've completely embarrassed the Han family at the bank today, with Jingchuan starting a business at such a critical time. Fine if you won't mortgage the house, but you should at least hand over this 800,000, right?" I stood at the door, not changing my shoes. "You went through my drawer." She was self-righteous. "I'm your mother-in-law. Is there anything in this house I can't see? Besides, this money is just sitting here idle. If Jingchuan's company succeeds, you'll be the boss's wife. Isn't that better than having this meager savings?" In my previous life, I fell for the words boss's wife. I handed over my mother's bankbook. He Sholan smiled. Han Jingchuan also breathed a sigh of relief. Shu Ruoqing had said at the time, "Sister Zai really supports brother Jingchuan. I'll definitely keep an eye on the company for you in the future." Later she did indeed keep an eye on the company, misread it as hers. I walked over, picked up the passbook and put it into my bag. He Sholan was stunned. "What are you doing?" "My money, I'll keep it." Her expression changed. "Lin Zai, how can you be so selfish now? Jingchuan has been married to you for 3 years. You've eaten the Han family's food and lived under their roof. Now that we're asking you to contribute some money, you turn hostile." I looked at her. What did I ever take from the Han family? One meal of hers. I opened my mobile banking app, utilities, and property fees, daily grocery shopping, her physical examination, Han Jingchuan's business dinner attire, renovation of the Han family's old house. All of my payment records are there, not counting what I did before, because I thought we were family. Now she says I'm eating the Han family's food, so be it, I said. "Starting today, all household expenses will be split 50-50. The money for your son's business venture, you figure it out yourselves." He Sholan's hands trembled with anger. "You're trying to drive Jingchuan to his death," I said. "He's so capable he won't die." The sound of a key turning in the lock came from the door. Han Jingchuan had returned. He looked terrible, and the first thing he said upon seeing me was, "Apologize to Ruoqing." I thought I had misheard. "What?" He said. "You embarrassed her at the bank today. She cried the whole way home." I laughed. "I refused to mortgage the house and refused to let her take the shares for free. She is the one who's embarrassed." "Then what about my past life? Kicked out of the company, divorced with nothing, dying sick in a rented room. What was all that?" I said. "No way." Han Jingchuan walked up to me. "Lin Zai, you weren't such a petty person before." "I was naive before." His face darkened. The mother-in-law immediately embellished the story. "She also wants to split the household expenses 50-50. Look at her. Does she seem like someone who's serious about married life?" Han Jingchuan frowned. "Zai, don't keep tabs on money between husband and wife." I looked at him. Why are the equity shares calculated so precisely? He fell silent for a moment. I continued. You can calculate 19% with Shuruoching, 15% with investors, and the option pool with employees, but when it comes to me, it becomes don't talk about money between husband and wife. His expression was somewhat embarrassed. A company is not a home, so I'm not the company's ATM either. I turned and went into the bedroom. Han Jingchuan followed him in. You turned off the automatic transfer. I opened the drawer and began organizing the documents. Yes, the mortgage, car insurance, and my mom's nursing home card all have payments due. Whoever uses it pays for it. He finally got angry. Lin Zai, don't go too far. I stopped moving, watching this man I had loved for 5 years. His anger at this moment was not because I had suffered an injustice, but because I was no longer useful. I put the marriage certificate, property deed, mother's deposit certificates, and insurance contract into the document folder one by one. Han Jingchuan watched, his voice turning cold. What are you doing? Keeping my belongings safe. He suddenly smiled. You think I can't get it done without your help? Ruoching has already connected me with another investor. Don't put on airs now and come begging for dividends later. I nodded. I won't. He choked. Just then Shu Ruoching sent me a WeChat message. Sister Zai, I know you have misunderstandings about me, but when it comes to dreams, money really shouldn't matter that much. Brother Jingchuan is under a lot of pressure. I hope you won't hold him back with marriage. I took a screenshot of the message and saved it, then replied to her. In the face of a dream, equity shouldn't be counted too clearly. Give up your 19%. She didn't reply again. I sent the screenshot to Lu Tang. Lu Tang is my college classmate and now works as a paralegal at a law firm. She quickly replied to me. Finally awake, save all chat logs, transaction records and equity drafts. Don't argue, don't get physical, and don't verbally agree to anything. I replied. Got it. That night, I slept in the second bedroom. Han Jingchuan did not come to find me. He stayed in the study on a video conference with Shu Ruoching until the early hours. I heard him say, she's just throwing a tantrum. Once the project starts making money, she'll naturally come back. I sat in the dark and turned on the computer. In my previous life, Yuntu technology truly took off not because of Han Jingchuan's technology. It was because I later discovered a hidden pain point in cold chain storage losses and helped him revise the operational model. That model is still in my mind. I open a blank document and type 4 words. Qinghe intelligence chain. This time, I will no longer be anyone's invisible partner. The next day, I went to the Yuntu technology office. The office was very small. In my previous life, I had spent countless nights here. Han Jingchuan was responsible for presenting the technical vision. Shu Ruoching was responsible for accompanying him to the roadshows, and I was in charge of reconciling accounts, chasing payments, revising proposals, calming clients, and handling employee social insurance. No one called me a partner, they only called me Mrs. Han. Now I stand at the doorway looking at the newly pasted slogan on the wall. Use technology to transform the future of logistics. An operational framework is written on the whiteboard. I recognize it at a glance. It's the first version I wrote in my previous life. Only the signature changed to Shu Ruoching. She was standing in front of the whiteboard, explaining things to 2 interns. What we need to focus on in the future is the digital needs of small and medium cold chain enterprises. This market is huge, but the entry point isn't warehousing, it's loss control. She spoke fluently, but every single keyword was painstakingly tested by me word by word in my past life. I walked in, the office fell silent in an instant. Shu Ruoching saw me and smiled gently. Sister Zai, you're here. Jingchuan has gone to see a client. Would you like to sit for a while? She pointed to the corner that used to be my desk. Now it's piled with clutter. The seat she took was the one I sat in a past life. My old mug was still on the table. I walked over, picked up the mug and threw it straight into the trash. Shu Ruoching's expression changed. Sister Zai, what are you doing? It's my belongings, I'm dealing with them. The intern beside her lowered their head, not daring to speak. Shu Ruoching quickly put back on a wronged expression. If you mind me using this spot, I can give it up, but the company is really busy right now and I just want to help brother Jingchuan. I look at the whiteboard. Help him steal from me. Her face turned pale. What do you mean? I took out my phone and opened a document. Creation time before the previous life. An early draft organized even earlier in this life. File name, initial version of the cold chain loss control model. Of course, this isn't a document from a past life, I rewrote it just last night, but every single piece of logic in it came from lessons I learned the hard way myself, I said. This model on the whiteboard, I wrote it. Shu Ruoqing smiled faintly. Sis Zai, these are all public industry insights. Not something written by any specific person, right? I walked to the whiteboard, picked up a marker, and circled the third item. The anomaly return compensation logic is missing here, so all the subsequent calculations will be wrong. I circled the sixth item again. Here you wrote that warehouse loss decreased by 15%, but you didn't account for the low temperature transfer handover time. When actually implemented, it will lose money. No one spoke in the office. I put down my pen. You didn't even copy it completely. Shu Ruoqing's eyes instantly turned red. I didn't copy, I just organized it based on Brother Jingchuan's direction. Just then Han Jingchuan returned. He looked at the scene in front of the whiteboard, his expression darkening. Lin Zai, what are you causing trouble for again? I picked up the few folders I had left in the drawer to get my things. He looked at the documents in my hand and frowned. Those are company materials. These are the original plans I wrote and the client's collation. You're my wife, helping the company with a few things. Do you need to be so clear-cut about it? I smiled. You have very clear equity divisions and I have very clear data divisions. Shu Ruoqing stood beside him and said softly, Jingchuan, let it be. Zai might just feel like she's being overlooked. Han Jingchuan's expression softened a bit. Zai, what do you want? Shares that can be negotiated, but the company can't fall into chaos right now. I asked, how much? He paused. I pressed on, 19%. Shu Ruoqing's expression changed. Han Jingchuan frowned. Ruoqing is core operations. I looked at him. Then what am I? He was silent for 2 seconds. You are my wife. Good, a wife is someone without equity, without credit, without boundaries, but who can mortgage the house. I put the folder into my bag. Then let me tell you, as your wife, I will no longer work for Yuntu Technology for free. Han Jingchuan's voice turned cold. Lin Zai, don't regret this, leave Yuntu, and you're nothing. I looked up at him. Who I am is not for you to decide. I turned and walked away. Just as I reached the door, I heard Shu Ruoqing say softly, Jingchuan, if Zai takes the materials, will it affect our upcoming roadshow? Han Jingchuan replied, how important could something she wrote be? I didn't look back. After going downstairs, I received a call from an unfamiliar number. Miss Lin, I'm Luo Jiancheng. I heard you ask a question at a cold chain forum before. I have a warehouse loss issue here. Would you be interested in discussing it? I held my phone and stopped by the roadside. Luo Jiancheng, in my previous life. Han Jingchuan looked down on him at first. He disliked that his company was small, had too many accounts and dealt with a messy assortment of demands. Later, Luo Jiancheng switched to a competitor and became Yuntu's biggest rival client in this life. The call came to me. I said, I'm interested. After hanging up the phone, I looked at the sunlight at the end of the street. The road began to fork. It was my mother-in-law who took the initiative to invite me to the Han family dinner. She said, families shouldn't have overnight grudges. Come over for dinner tonight and we'll clarify the money matter. I know she didn't want to make things clear. She wanted to gang up on me. When I arrived, the Han family relatives filled an entire table. Han Jingchuan's cousin Han Lu was also there. She saw me and looked a bit embarrassed. My mother-in-law, He Shoulan, sat at the head of the table and started right in. Zai, you need to give everyone a clear answer today. Jingchuan is starting a business. Are you going to help him or not? Uncle immediately chimed in. Women really need to think bigger. A man starting a business is a big deal. Why are you clinging to a house? Third aunt said, once Jingchuan grows the company, you'll be the one enjoying the good life. If you don't put in the effort now, how can you expect to enjoy it later? I sat down and placed my bag beside my legs. Before enjoying the good life, let's look at the contract. I took out the copy of the equity draft and put it on the table. Here is the equity structure of Han Jingchuan's company. Could everyone please help me see where my fortune lies? Everyone looked at each other in bewilderment. Han Jingchuan's face darkened. What do you mean by bringing company documents to a family banquet? I said, your mother asked everyone to persuade me to invest money. I have to let everyone know what I'm investing in. Han Lu took the draft, glanced at it a few times and frowned. Zai's name isn't on it. Her mother-in-law immediately said, why would you put both names on a couple's property? Jingchuan's is hers. I laughed. Then why did Shu Ruoqing need to write her name? The table fell silent for a moment. Mother-in-law's expression turned awkward. If Ruoching has to work at the company. I nodded. I don't have to work, just put up the money. No one responded. I took out the ledger again. These are the funds I have paid out to the Han family and Han Jingchuan over the past 3 years. I turned on the screencasting. Item 1, Han Jingchuan's early-stage business working capital. 200,000. Second item, Han Jingchuan's credit card repayment 86,000. Third item, mother-in-law's health checkup and wellness card 120,000. Fourth item, renovation of the Han family's old house 190,000. Item 5, Han Jingchuan's business social formal wear and travel expenses advanced 150,000. Total 746,000. The sounds at the dinner table gradually faded away. The second uncle asked in a low voice, "Xiulan, have you paid these off yet?" The mother-in-law immediately glared at him. "What's there to return among family?" I said. "We're not family anymore." Han Jingchuan suddenly looked at me. "What do you mean?" I took the draft divorce agreement out of my bag. "What I mean is, a marriage can be discussed as ending, and debts can be discussed as being returned." My mother-in-law screamed, "Lin Zai, you dare divorce Jingchuan? You're a woman who's already been married twice, who would want you in the future." I looked at her. "I don't need anyone to want me." Han Lu put down the draft and said softly, "Aunt Zai really contributed a lot of this money. If you want her to mortgage the house, at least the equity should be clearly stated." My mother-in-law snapped, "Whose side are you on?" Han Lu pressed her lips together. "I stand on reason." Han Jingchuan finally spoke. "Zai, I admit you helped me in the early stages, but starting a business isn't like grocery shopping or bookkeeping. You can't calculate every single thing this way. If you really want shares, I can give you 5%. I looked at him. 5% in my previous life, what I exchanged with half my life didn't even amount to 5%. Now he gives it to me like alms. I said, "No need." His face turned even uglier. "What exactly do you want?" "I want to take myself back." I slid the divorce agreement across the table to him. "You pay back the debt, the divorce will take time. The company, you run it yourself." He stared at the agreement as if he didn't recognize me. Shu Ruoching's message arrived right then. Han Jingchuan's phone was on the table, the screen lighting up. "Jingchuan, I've set up a meeting with the investor. Don't argue with Zai tonight, just coax her into signing first. Once the company gets through this, you won't have to let her call the shots anymore." Everyone saw it. Han Jingchuan's face changed drastically. My mother-in-law was also stunned. I smiled. "So you do realize this is a power play?" Han Jingchuan immediately picked up his phone. "She didn't mean it that way." I stood up. "What she meant has nothing to do with me." I picked up my bag. "I sent you the ledger tonight. The lawyer will be in touch later. Also, my house is not your dream fund." As I walked out of the Han family home, Han Lu ran after me. "Zai." I stopped. She looked a bit embarrassed. "We used to think you were just idle at home. Never thought," I said. "Never thought I'd be the one putting in both the money and the effort." She nodded. "I'm sorry. No need to apologize, just be clear about what you saw." On the way home, Luo Jiancheng sent me the warehouse data. He asked, "Miss Lin, can you come to the site tomorrow?" I replied, "Yes." On the other end of the phone was the first door to my new life. No matter how brightly the Han family's lights shone behind me, they no longer belonged to me. Luo Jiancheng's cold storage warehouse was in the north of the city when I arrived. The workers were unloading the goods. Cold air rushed out from the warehouse door, carrying the smell of ice water and cardboard boxes mixed together. In my previous life, the first time I came here was to apologize on behalf of Han Jingchuan because the system Yuntu had built for Luo Jiancheng was incompatible, resulting in a batch of fresh produce exceeding the spoilage limit. Han Jingchuan found the client too difficult and refused to come. Shu Ruoching said, "This small client isn't worth the time." In the end, I made 3 trips and slowly revised the process back step by step. Luo Jiancheng later said to me, "Miss Lin, you shouldn't just be the boss's wife." I smiled at the time, not taking it seriously. In this life I took it to heart. Luo Jiancheng, in his 40s, was wearing work clothes and holding a stack of reports. "Miss Lin, the monthly loss rate in my warehouse is consistently between 8 and 12%. Several system vendors have come by, all saying we need to replace the entire set of equipment, but I don't have that kind of budget." I flipped through the report. "It's not an equipment problem, it's an issue with the handover point." He was taken aback. I pointed it out to him. "The inbound temperature is fine, and the temperature inside the warehouse is also fine. The real loss occurs in the 2 hours before outbound. There is no buffer record between your packing area and loading area, making it impossible to assign responsibility. The system only manages inventory, not the handover process, so everyone feels it's not their problem. Luo Jianqing's eyes lit up. Go on. I took out the flowchart I had prepared the night before. I can first create a lightweight model for you. Without changing any equipment, using the existing barcode scanner and temperature logs, we'll start by managing 3 things: handover time, responsible parties, and anomaly compensation. He listened very attentively. How soon will we see results? 20 days. Cost? I quoted a low figure. He looked at me. Are you quoting too low? I laughed. The first order is to buy trust. Luo Jiancheng nodded. All right, sign it. When I left the warehouse, I registered the company Qinghe Intelligence Chain. The company address was temporarily listed at a shared office space. I was the only employee. I don't have a luxurious office, I don't have substantial investments, no one paves the way for me, but I have experience earned from past lives at the cost of my life. In the evening, I went home to pack my things. Han Jingchuan was sitting in the living room. He saw the registration documents in my hand and frowned. Are you really going to start your own company? Yes, he sneered. You think starting a business is just making spreadsheets? Cold chain digitization isn't as simple as you think. I changed my shoes. I know, he laughed as if hearing a joke. You've never even been through a funding round. I looked up. You have, and that's why you're still here asking me to mortgage the house. His face was ashen. The grandmother came out of the kitchen. Lin Zai, you want to take money from the family to start another business. Let me tell you, don't you dare touch a single cent of Jingchuan's money. I laughed. Don't worry, I won't use his money. Han Jingchuan stared at me. What are you going to use then? My own money. How much money do you have? I didn't answer. A flicker of disdain passed through his eyes. Stop struggling. If you turn back now, I can pretend none of this ever happened. The company needs operations support. You can come and help. As for shares, I'll think about it again. I looked at him, considering a few percent. He frowned. Do you have to be like this? Yes. He was silent for a moment. 8%. I smiled. Han Jingchuan, what do you take me for? He said, I've already made concessions. No need. I walked past him and went into the bedroom to pack my luggage. He follows behind me. You're moving away. Yes. Where will you live? My own house. Only then did he remember that my small premarital house was still there. His face turned grim. How far are you going to take this? I folded the clothes into the suitcase. It's come to the point of divorce. He pressed down on the suitcase firmly. I don't agree. I looked at his hand. Let go. He didn't. I picked up my phone. Let go or I'll call the police. His eyes flickered. I would never have said that before. He slowly let go. I pulled up my suitcase before leaving. I saw Yuntu's new roadshow materials on the coffee table. The cover read co-founder Xu Ruoqing. I laughed. I hope they stay stuck together forever. 2 weeks later, the industry roadshow began. I didn't expect to run into Han Jingchuan. He stood at the entrance of the venue wearing a dark suit with Xu Ruoqing by his side. Xu Ruoqing had adopted a more polished look, like a true startup partner. Seeing me, she was visibly taken aback. Sister Zai, you're here too. I held up my chest badge. Participating project, Qinghe Smart Chain. Han Jingchuan frowned when he saw those 4 words. You actually registered a company. He looked as if he found it absurd. Stop messing around. This isn't the kind of place for you to come and experience life. I didn't say anything and just walked straight in. The first half was led by Yuntu Technology. Han Jingchuan's technical demonstration went fairly smoothly, but when it came to the investors' Q&A session, problems arose. How does your loss control model get implemented in small to medium-sized warehouses? How should exception responsibilities be split? If the customer doesn't replace the equipment, can we still adapt? Han Jingchuan looked at Xu Ruoqing. Xu Ruoqing flipped through the materials and noticeably paused. She answered beautifully, but without any data. The investor continued to press. Are there any real-world test cases? Han Jingchuan said. We're working on it. Who is the client? He fell silent. I sat below the stage, eyes lowered to the documents in my previous life. These were all questions I had filled in for him. I will prepare Luo Jianqing's pilot data in advance. I will create 3 budget versions. I will clearly break down the implementation difficulties that investors fear most in this life. The person by his side has been replaced by Xu Ruoqing. She understands dreams. but not who will pay for a box of spoiled fresh goods in the warehouse. When Yuntu stepped down, the applause was faint. Shu Ruoqing's face turned pale. Next, it was my project, Qinghe Intelligence Chain. I didn't talk about a grand future. I only showed 3 charts. The first one, the loss rate of Luo Jianqing's warehouse over the past 6 months. The second chart shows the loss reduction curve after 20 days of the pilot. The third chart compares the claims efficiency before and after the splitting of abnormal liability. An investor asked, "Do you have a technical team?" I said, "Not a full technical team at the moment, so in the first phase, I won't sell a large system, only lightweight models and process tools first. Solve the pain points that customers are willing to pay for, then expand the system. What are your strengths?" "I don't start with concepts, I first help clients lose less money." Someone in the audience laughed, but it was a laugh of agreement. After the roadshow, Luo Jiancheng spoke up for me on the spot. "I am her first client, I can vouch for the results." An investor voluntarily handed me a business card. I took it, feeling very steady inside. It's not because I beat Han Jingchuan, it's because for the first time, when I stood on the stage, the byline was my own. After the meeting, Han Jingchuan stopped me in the parking lot. His expression was complicated. "Is Luo Jiancheng your client?" "Yes, he contacted Yuntu before. You disapprove of him." His face stiffened. In his previous life, he had also looked down on it. In this life, he still looked down on it. Shu Ruoqing followed behind him and forced a smile. "Zai, your project is indeed very detailed, but the market is too small. Jingchuan is building a platform-level product." I looked at her. "If the platform can't even solve the first customer issue, it's just a castle in the air." Her face turned pale. Han Jingchuan frowned. "Don't be so aggressive." I smiled. "I'm just stating the facts," he said in a low voice. "Give me a copy of your pilot data. Yuntu can cooperate with you." I look at him. "Not cooperating. Lin Zai, don't let emotions drive your decisions. You alone can't carry the project. If I can't carry it, I still won't hand it over to you." His eyes darkened. "Are you determined to oppose me?" I said, "I'm just being myself." With that, I got in the car and drove away. In the rearview mirror, Shu Ruoqing was whispering something to Han Jingchuan. Han Jingchuan's expression grew darker. I knew it, they were starting to panic. That evening, the investor sent an email inviting me to the next round of closed-door meetings. At the same time, Lu Tang told me, "Yuntu didn't get the funding. Han Jingchuan is trying to approach banks, but since you refused to provide a guarantee before, the banks are being very cautious." I replied, "Got it." She asked, "Feels good, doesn't it?" I look out the window. Not bad. What's truly satisfying isn't watching him fail, it's that he can no longer step on me to succeed. Han Jingchuan came to my small office the next day. In the co-working space, people came and went. He stood outside the glass door, looking out of place. In the past, he was used to making decisions in front of me. Now, he needs to check in at the front desk to see me. I let him in. His first words were, "You've known how to do this all along." I closed the laptop. "Which ones?" "Cold chain models, client proposals, investment roadshows." He stared at me. "Lin Zai, why didn't you say so before?" I found it amusing. "I did." He frowned. I reminded him, 2 years ago when you first worked on warehouse products, I told you small and medium-sized clients don't need big systems, they need clear division of responsibilities. You said I didn't understand technology. Last year when Luo Jiancheng came to you, you thought he was too small, and I said small clients are the best references. You said my vision was narrow. Last month you asked me to mortgage my house, and when I asked about equity distribution, you said I didn't understand company structure. His face gradually froze. Back then you didn't listen back then. He was speechless. After a long while he said, "Now Yuntu needs you." I looked at him. This sentence has finally come. In my past life I waited many years but never heard him admit that he needed me. Hearing it now, I can only feel the irony. I asked, "Do you need me, or do you need my clients and proposals?" He was silent. I nodded. "You see, you still can't tell the truth." Han Jingchuan lowered his voice. "Ji Yi, we are husband and wife. The project you're working on now can be fully integrated into Yuntu. I'll give you a co-founder position." I smiled. "What about Shu Ruoqing?" His expression shifted slightly. "Ruoqing can adjust." "Adjust to what position?" "She's not suited for operations." I looked at him. In the past life, he pushed me out of the game for Shu Ruoqing. In this life, as soon as Shu Ruoqing proved useless, he wanted to reassign her. Who does he love? "He only loves those who can help him succeed," I said. Han Jingchuan, I'm not merging with Yuntu and I'm not going back to clean up your mess. His eyes darkened. You've grown your wings now. Exactly. He didn't expect me to admit it so readily, I continued. You pushed me to discover that I've had wings all along. He stood up. Lin Zai, you're going to regret this. Without a technical team you won't get far. That's my business. He left, slamming the door. In the afternoon, Shu Ruoqing sent me an email. The attachment was the proposal she was preparing to submit to another investment institution. The email body is very short. Sister Zai, I know you have grievances, but the industry is big, there's no need to target each other. Take a look at this proposal. If you have any suggestions, we can discuss them together. I clicked it open. After just 2 pages, I laughed. She copied the lightweight model from my roadshow into her work, but she altered the most critical abnormal claim payout rule. She probably thought changing a few words meant it wasn't plagiarism. I didn't reply. I saved the email along with the timestamp and sent it to Attorney Chin. Attorney Chin replied, "Keep it, don't tip them off for now." Sure enough, 3 days later, Shu Ruoqing, representing Yuntu, submitted this revised proposal to a competing client. The client was called Xingyuan Fresh. In the previous life, Xingyuan was one of Yuntu's early major clients, but their warehouse structure was too complex to fit Shu Ruoqing's revised model. I didn't remind them it wasn't me who caused their downfall. A stolen key was never meant to open someone else's door. That same night, Han Jingchuan sent me a message. Ruoqing said, you took a lot of our company files. Lin Zai, I hope you don't go as far as infringing on our rights. I looked at the message and laughed. He believed her again. Very good, I replied. See you in court if that's what you want. He didn't respond again. A week later, a problem emerged in the Xingyuan pilot program. Misaligned exception compensation rules made it impossible to determine responsibility for a batch of goods, resulting in customer losses exceeding 200,000. Shu Ruoqing began to panic. Han Jingchuan finally realized that the plan was not written by her. On the day of the industry press conference, Han Jingchuan and I were in the same room again. The person in charge of Xingyuan Fresh looked terrible. He confronted Yuntu on the spot. You promised to reduce handover losses within 7 days, but not only did you fail to do so, you also messed up the chain of responsibility. Who gave you that model? Han Jingchuan looked at Shu Ruoqing. Shu Ruoqing's face turned pale. This was compiled by the whole team together. I sat in the audience and took out my computer. No rush, wait for them to continue. The head of Xingyuan sneered. Co-organize. This model is highly similar to the pilot plan of Qinghe Smart Chain, but the key rules are absurdly wrong. Did you only copy half of it, or do you just not know how to implement it? The scene instantly fell silent. Han Jingchuan abruptly looked at me. His eyes held both shock and suspicion. Shu Ruoqing immediately said, that's not true. Qinghe's proposal was already based on publicly available industry materials, so you can't say we copied it. I stood up. Then it depends on the time. The large screen connected to my computer. I displayed 3 documents. The first version, the original one I submitted to the investment institution before last night, including timestamps. The second version, the email Shu Ruoqing sent me, including attachments. The third version, Yuntu's revised proposal submitted to Xingyuan. 3 versions side by side, the same structure, the same case order. Even a typo is identical. Someone in the audience chuckled softly. Shu Ruoqing's face was as pale as paper. Han Jingchuan stood on stage, his fingers gripping the microphone tightly. Ruoqing, what's going on? Shu Ruoqing's tears immediately fell. Brother Jingchuan, I just wanted to help you. I saw that Sister Zai's plan was indeed useful, so I thought I could use it as a reference. I didn't expect any problems to arise. I listened, but my heart remained unmoved. In the past life, she cried the same way when she took credit for my work. Sister Zai, I just organized things a little. It was Brother Jingchuan who insisted on giving me the credit. What did Han Jingchuan say back then? He said, Zai, Ruoqing is young, you give in to her. In this life she cries for everyone to see, but not every tear works. The head of Xingyuan directly said, we will pursue liability for breach of contract. Han Jingchuan's expression turned grim. After the press conference ended, he caught up with me. Lin Zai, I stop. His voice was hoarse. You wrote the plan. Yes, it was you from the very beginning. I looked at him. Are you just realizing that now? A flash of pain crossed his eyes. I don't know if Ruoqing would. I interrupt him. It's not that you don't know, you've just always chosen to believe the people who are useful to you. He is speechless. Shu Ruoqing chased after her, crying, Zai, are you satisfied now? You could have warned me, so why did you just watch us make mistakes? I looked at her. Did you ask me when you stole my proposal? She was left speechless. I continued. You stole half and messed up the other half, and now you want me to take responsibility for reminding you. People nearby looked over. Shu Ruoqing couldn't keep crying. Han Jingchuan said in a low voice, enough. He looked at me. Zai, I'm sorry. This was the first time he truly lowered his head, but it was too late. I said, apology accepted, compensation will be separate. His face turned pale. I turned and left. That evening, news of Yuntu being claims for compensation by Xingyuan spread through the industry group chat. The investor withdrew the meeting invitation. The bank refused to proceed with the loan. Yuntu's cash flow has completely collapsed. Qinghe Chain, however, secured its first round of angel investment thanks to my complete original proposal and Luo Jianqing's pilot data. The amount is not large, 5 million, but the contract has my name on it. Lin Zai, founder, holds 72% of the shares. I looked at that line of text and suddenly smiled. In my previous life, I built houses for others. In this life, I am finally laying the foundation for myself. On the day of the divorce mediation, Han Jingchuan did not bring Shu Ruoqing. He only brought his lawyer, his mother-in-law. He Shoulan did come. She started crying as soon as she saw me. Zai, I spoke too harshly before. Jingchuan's company is in trouble now. You can't divorce him at a time like this. I sat across from her. I can do it. She choked. The mediator asked both parties for their demands. I said, divorce. Confirm that the premarital property belongs to me for the loans and expenditures made by Han Jingchuan and the Han family to me over the past 3 years. The portion clearly defined as loans shall be returned. Yuntu Technology has nothing to do with me, and I will not assume any debt. Han Jingchuan said in a low voice, I do not agree to the divorce. I looked at him. Reason. He was silent. His mother spoke for him. How can a couple divorce over a little money? Jingchuan is at a low point right now. As his wife, you should stand by him through it. I laughed. I did that in my past life. No one understood. I continued. I'm not sticking it out in this life. Lawyer Qin pushed the documents over. Loan records, transfer note, payment for mother-in-law's nursing home, card renovation, record of the Han family's old house, receipt for Han Jingchuan's business startup working capital equity draft, Shu Ruoqing's email plagiarism record, laid out one by one. Han Jingchuan's face grew darker and darker. After reading it, the mediator also frowned. Mr. Han, do you acknowledge these loans? Han Jingchuan said, partially. The mother-in-law grew anxious. What recognition? That's just money between family members. I said, now we're discussing how to settle the money after we're no longer family. My mother-in-law's face darkened. Han Jingchuan suddenly looked up. Ji, what if I give you shares now? I looked at him. Yuntu's shares? Yes, he said, 20%. You come back and together we'll save the company. I smiled. Han Jingchuan, you're giving me shares now not because you recognize my worth, but because the company is dying. His face turned pale. I continued. In my past life, no, in the past you had plenty of chances to give me a position when the bank guarantee was signed, when the equity draft was drawn up, during the roadshow, when my plan was credited to someone else. You didn't give it then. Now I don't want it. He whispered. I can change. You can change, but not for me. The mediation failed the first time. As he was leaving, Han Jingchuan ran after him. Lin Zai. I stopped. He stood in the corridor, having lost a noticeable amount of weight. Were you planning to leave me all along? I looked at him. No, it was you who pushed me away time and time again. His eyes were a little red. I admit I was wrong. I used to think everything you did was just what a wife should do. Now I realize not just anyone can do that. I said, good that you know. Can't we start over? I shook my head. No. His Adam's apple moved. Because of Qinghe. Because I don't want to be Han Jingchuan's wife anymore. As these words fell, he stood as if rooted to the spot. He finally understood. It wasn't that I didn't want him because I had a career, it was because I didn't want him that I found myself. That evening, Lu Tang told me some news. Yuntu Bank rejected the loan. Han Jingchuan is now looking for private funding with very high interest rates. I asked, what about Shu Ruoqing? She removed herself from Yuntu's core team list and has reached out to another company. I smiled. In her previous life, she accompanied him as he struck the bell. In this life, she cannot afford to endure the hardships of debt with him. Lu Tang asked, do you want to do something about it? I said, no need. Not all retribution requires my own hand to deliver, they will get there on their own. 3 years later, Qinghe Smart Chain's valuation exceeded 1 billion. 5 years later, Qinghe completed its industrial merger and was officially renamed Qinghe Technology Group in the 6th year. I founded Qinghe Capital. Many people say I am the steadiest woman in the logistics digitalization track. What they don't know is that my steadiness began with a rebirth. During these 6 years I have not remarried, no romantic rumors with anyone either. I've been busy managing warehouses, building teams, signing clients, developing products, raising funds, and handling acquisitions. Every step has been difficult, but every step has been my own. I occasionally hear news about Han Jingchuan. Yuntu did not collapse, but neither did it recover. After Xingyuan claimed compensation, Yuntu lost its major client. Xu Ruoqing jumped to a competitor but was fired for falsifying her resume. Han Jingchuan managed to survive for a few years by outsourcing at low costs, but his debt kept mounting. Her mother-in-law He Xiulan sold the Han family's old house, yet still couldn't cover the shortfall. Our divorce was finalized in the 2nd year. The house belongs to me. Debt division. The Han family has clearly arranged to repay the loan in installments. He paid back very slowly at first. As Qinghe grew larger, he instead started making timely transfers every month, probably because he finally realized I was not someone to be easily fobbed off. At the first closed-door investment meeting of Qinghe Capital, many entrepreneurs showed up. I sat at the head of the table, flipping through the project documents. When the final proposal was placed before me, I saw a familiar name. Han Jingchuan. Project name: Yuntu Technology Restructuring Financing amount 50 million. Use of funds: debt restructuring, product upgrades, and customer retention. Guarantee method: pledge of company accounts receivable. I showed no expression. The assistant asked in a low voice, "Mr. Lin, should we cancel this project?" I said, "Follow the procedure." The conference room door opened. Han Jingchuan walked in. He looked much older than I remembered. The suit was clean, but the cuffs were worn white. When he looked up and saw me, his footsteps paused. Clearly, he didn't know that I was the lead investment reviewer from Qinghe Capital today. My investment team was seated in the conference room. No one spoke. Han Jingchuan stood before the projector, the proposal in his hand slowly crumpling. I watched him. "President Han, we can begin." The address director Han made his face pale slightly. He opened the PowerPoint presentation. For the first 10 minutes, his presentation was fairly steady. Yuntu still had a few clients left. The system has a basic infrastructure. If the debt is restructured, there is an opportunity to target niche markets. My investment director asked, "Why have your financial audits for the past 6 years been incomplete?" Han Jingchuan was silent for a moment. The early management was not standardized. Another partner asked, "Where is the core operations team?" He said, "Currently being rebuilt." I turned to the risk page. "Has the breach of contract dispute with Xingyuan been resolved?" He looked at me. "It's been resolved." "How was it resolved?" "Pay in installments." "Is it fully paid?" His Adam's apple moved slightly. "There's still some final payment left." I closed the documents. "President Han, Yuntu's greatest value right now isn't its technology but the remaining customer relationships. However, your past performance record and debt burden are very heavy. Qinghe Capital cannot approve the 50 million loan." The meeting room fell silent. Han Jingchuan's face gradually turned pale. He whispered, "Mr. Lin, could we talk privately?" I checked the time. 10 minutes. After the meeting room was cleared, only the two of us remained. He stood before me as if we had gone back to the bank's VIP lounge years ago, only this time the one pushing the contract across the table was him. He said, "Zai, please lend me some money." As those words fell, I suddenly found fate deeply ironic. In my past life, I begged him to see what I sacrificed for him. In this life, he begs me to grant him a single loan. I said, "Mr. Han, please call me President Lin." His eyes turned red. "General Lin." I looked at him. "According to business rules, your project is not approved." His voice had gone hoarse. "What if it's not about business rules?" I smiled. "Then even more reason to reject it." Han Jingchuan stood in the meeting room, remaining silent for a long time. Outside the window are the city's high-rises. "This city is very bright." 6 years ago, he said he could succeed without my money. 6 years later, he came with a business plan, begging me to lend him 50 million. He whispered, "I know I'm not qualified to ask you." I didn't respond. He continued, But Yuntu still has dozens of employees, they've been with me for many years. If this money doesn't come through, I won't even be able to pay their salaries. I looked at him. 6 years ago I warned you about cash flow risks and you said I was only good at petty accounting. His face turned pale. You were right, I was wrong. 6 years ago when I asked why my equity stake wasn't included, you said I didn't understand corporate structure. I was wrong. 6 years ago when Shu Ruoqing took my proposal, you said I was targeting her. He closed his eyes. I was wrong. I nodded. Every time you say I was wrong now it sounds sincere, but it won't change your track record. Han Jingchuan's eyes turned red. Zai, I've been regretting this all these years. I said, regret is your problem, the loan is Qinghe's money, isn't Qinghe yours? I looked at him. Precisely because it's mine, I won't use it to fill your hole anymore. He was stung by these words and fell silent. After a long while, he took a document out of his bag. This is the last collateral plan I can offer. I pledge the remaining shares of Yuntu and all my personal assets to you. You set the interest rate, just give me one chance. I flipped through the document. He really has nothing left to stake. The house is sold, the car is pawned, accounts receivable are unstable, customer churn is severe. From a business perspective, this money shouldn't be lent. From a personal perspective, it's even less justifiable to lend it. I pushed the document back. Not approved. He braced himself against the edge of the table, his knuckles turning white. Really no room at all. None. He suddenly looked up. If I hadn't treated you that way back then, would things be different between us now? I looked at him. Yes. A glimmer of light rose in his eyes. I continued. If you had respected me back then, we would have been great partners. Maybe Yuntu would have succeeded, maybe Qinghe wouldn't have appeared, but you didn't. That glimmer went out. I was too foolish back then. No, I said, you're not stupid, you just thought I wouldn't leave. He fell silent. Suddenly the sound of an argument came. From outside the meeting room door the assistant knocked and entered. Mr. Lin Ms. Shu Ruoqing is here. She says she wants to see Mr. Han. I raised an eyebrow. Han Jingchuan's expression changed. What is she doing here? Shu Ruoqing rushed in without waiting for permission. She looked much more haggard than 6 years ago, with thick makeup, but her eyes still had that calculating gleam. Jingchuan, you can't shift all the blame onto me. You were the one who asked me to revise the plan back then and you promised me the equity. Now you're here begging Lin Zai for a loan and trying to play the devoted lover. It's not that easy. Han Jingchuan shouted angrily. Shut up. Shu Ruoqing sneered. Why should I shut up, President Lin? You probably still don't know. Back then, he had already thought that if you refused to provide the guarantee, he would keep you calm for a while, and then divorce you once the first round of funding was secured. He said you're too good at calculating and keeping you around would eventually affect control of the company. The conference room fell silent. Han Jingchuan's face turned pale. I looked at him. Not that I was surprised really, it was just that the vague knives from my past life now had a concrete shape. Shu Ruoqing continued. The reason he's begging you now isn't because he loves you, it's because no one else is willing to lend him money. I smiled. Miss Shu, thank you for providing the additional risk information. She was stunned. I pressed the intercom. Please have the security escort Ms. Shu out. Shu Ruoqing panicked. Lin Zai, don't you hate him? I looked at her. I did hate her, but it's not worth it now. She was taken away by the security guards. Han Jingchuan stood rooted to the spot, as if drained of all strength. Zai, what she said isn't the whole truth, I said. It doesn't matter. He looked up. How could it not matter? Because whether the truth is 80% bad or 100% bad, I still won't lend. He finally cried, not a wailing cry. Just tears falling, his whole body on the verge of collapsing. I'm truly at the end of my rope. I stood up. Then handle the debt through legal procedures, settle the employees, and apply for restructuring. Adults must take responsibility for their own decisions. He suddenly knelt down. Lin Zai, I beg you. I watched him. In an instant, the self from a past life overlapped before my eyes. In that past life, I had also knelt in the hospital corridor, begging him not to divorce. I beg him for the sake of having started this business with him to grant me a little dignity. He said, Zai, don't make this ugly. Now it's his turn to beg. I did not soften. I said, Han Jingchuan, stand up. What you owe me can't be repaid with this kneeling. He remained kneeling. I walked around him and headed to the door. The loan is not approved. For the remaining debt after the divorce, please continue to repay according to the agreement. Our personal relationship ends here. Just before the door closed, I heard him say in a hoarse voice, If I could do it all over again, I would never treat you that way. My footsteps paused for a second, then I kept walking. What a pity. I really did start over, and I truly didn't want him anymore. Yuntu Technology eventually applied for debt restructuring. Han Jingchuan did not go bankrupt with a dramatic bang. Reality is not that dramatic. He has simply gone from being an ambitious entrepreneurial star to an ordinary loser who has to face debt, employee compensation, client lawsuits, and a damaged credit record. Xu Ruoqing never managed to turn her fortunes around either. She tried to shift all the blame onto Han Jingchuan, but multiple companies discovered that she had fabricated her resume and plagiarized proposals. She sent me an email. It read, "Lin Ziyi, you win." I didn't reply because I was never competing with her. I just crossed them out of the ledger of my life. Han Jingchuan also came when the court made the final confirmation of property enforcement after the divorce. He transferred part of the remaining debt to the designated account. The amount was not large, but the note was very clear, Lin Ziyi's personal loan repayment. Seeing this line, I felt very calm inside. In my previous life, I never got an acknowledgement even up to my death. In this life, the law and the ledgers have brought me justice. As I walked out of the courthouse, Han Jingchuan called out to me, "Ziyi." I stopped. He stood at the bottom of the steps, his face no longer bearing the confident glow of years past. "Can I still contact you in the future?" "No," he smiled bitterly. "Not even friends?" I looked at him. "Han Jingchuan, we have never been friends. We were once husband and wife, and then we became a relationship of creditor and debtor. Now that the debt is paid off, there's no relationship left." His eyes turned red. "Are you really not nostalgic at all?" I paused for a moment. "I was." He looked up. I said, "But I used them all up in my previous life." He didn't understand. I didn't need him to understand either. That afternoon, I returned to Qinghe. The group's new product launch is being prepared. On the large screen it reads, Qinghe Smart Chain Global Cold Chain Collaboration System Launch. When introducing me, the host said, "Welcome Ms. Lin Ziyi, founder of Qinghe Technology Group and managing partner of Qinghe Capital." Applause rings out. I walk onto the stage. The lights fall upon me. Sitting in the audience were clients, employees, investors, and many young entrepreneurs. When they looked at me, I no longer saw the label of so-and-so's wife, only Lin Ziyi. I opened the presentation slides. The first page is not a grand slogan. It is a photo of a cold chain warehouse. That was Luo Jianqing's warehouse back in the day. I said, many years ago, the first time I walked into a warehouse, someone told me this wasn't a woman's place to worry about. Later I realized there's nothing in this world that a woman shouldn't concern herself with. Nothing except the interests others don't want you involved in. Someone in the audience laughed. I continued. Qinghe didn't start as a big platform. It started as an anomaly responsibility sheet. It was small, but it taught me one thing. Accounting for every transaction clearly isn't cold-hearted, it's respect. I paused for a moment. Respect for the client and respect for yourself. After the press conference ended, Luo Jiancheng walked over. He is now an important partner of Qinghe. "Congratulations, Mr. Lin." I smiled and shook hands with him. "Thank you too for giving me my first order back then," he said. "I knew back then that you were meant to do more than just work for others." I looked into the distance. Yeah, I shouldn't just be a wife to others either. At night, I returned to my own house, the same small house that was nearly foreclosed on back then. Over the years I've acquired many properties, but this unit never sold. I renovated it into a quiet little home. On the balcony, I keep the gardenias my mother loved. I water the flowers. The phone buzzed. It was a message from Lu Tang. "Congratulations, Ms. Lin. What's the billionaire having for dinner tonight?" I replied, "Tomato and egg noodles." She sent a string of loud laughter. "With such a high net worth, you're still eating this?" I typed with a smile. "It's my own money. I can eat whatever I want." After putting down my phone, I sat at the dining table. Steam rose from the bowl. I suddenly thought of the pen in the bank's VIP room on the day I was reborn. If I signed with it, all the stories would return to my past life. I will sell the house, will take on debt, will stay up late, will lift Han Jingchuan to a high position. I saw him holding Xu Ruoqing, saying that she is the only one who understands dreams. Fortunately in this life, I put the pen back on the table. I refused to support an ungrateful husband. Then I invested all that money, that house, those abilities, and that destiny into myself. The lights outside the window are very bright. I lowered my head and took a bite of noodles, very ordinary but very fragrant.